Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Details. Welcome, you guys, on this fine Monday night. Thank you all for showing up and being here. I have a very exciting guest that I am so ready to bring in. This is somebody who has 44 years of experience in the automotive industry, talking about paint correction, repair, just fine tuning the whole professional process. I cannot wait to get into it tonight, you guys. This is going to be a treat. So let's go ahead and bring him on in. I have Mr. Conway Stevens. Hello.
Hey, Chrissy.
I am grinning ear to ear because I'm telling you, I have waited for this. I know you weren't able to come on for, some personal reasons, a couple weeks ago. And so when you said you were ready to come on, I'm like, yes, I'm ready. And I think people here are absolutely ready to hear, man, 44 years of experience. That's something.
Yeah, it adds up quick. You think and you go, where did the time go? It happens fast.
Yeah. So you have been on my show before, but for those people who are watching this podcast and who don't know who Conway Stevens is, if you want to give us just a quick background, we don't have to spend a ton of time, but just kind of introducing who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, of course, my name's Conway. A lot of you know me, and for those that don't, I'm in northern Colorado. I've been in the automotive service industry for 44 years. I started when I was 14, working for my dad, who owned a shop. Back in the 80s, I started detailing cars in his shop. It was an automotive shop that also cleaned cars. Back then, of course, we didn't call it detailing. So I got my start early on, and then I graduated into becoming a mechanic, an ASE Master Certified Tech. Worked in the body and shop and paint industry for a lot of years. I'm a certified painter. Just grew into the whole industry, and it's been with me my whole life. And currently now I have a shop that we run that basically is, we like to call it a one-stop for everything that you could want.
Now, you really specialize in at this point in paint correction and restoration. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's a strong suit of yours. What makes you, what has made you fall in love with paint correction and restoration? Because I've seen the things that you've done. You've sent me pictures. I mean, you do absolutely incredible work. But what made you fall in love with that? Because that's hard stuff.
Because it's not interiors.
I hear you. I totally hear you on that one.
Actually, truth be told, I don't hate interiors either. It's but there's no glory and shine in an interior like there is paint. Paint is the first thing that you see when you walk up on a vehicle. Paint gives a vehicle its character. I mean, its look, its inspire. A lot of it probably has to do with the fact that I got involved in the paint and body industry and painting cars. And when you're painting stuff, you have to learn how to cut, polish, correct, fix, redo. So I just love making them shine. And then I got into the car show stuff with a lot of the classics. And when you're doing, 60, 70, 100,000, $750,000 cars, it's awe-inspiring when you can put some of that into it.
Yeah. It's paint is one of those things that really has intrigued me over the years. Because it's something that before you're a detailer, before you get into correction, you start learning about it, you don't think about it much. It's just paint on a car. And then you start realizing how special it is and how many layers there is to it and how you take care of it, just like your skin, what to put on it, what not to put on it. And just the detail of it is pretty amazing. So let's go ahead and just get right into then our first topic, because this is, something that I know I still want to learn a lot about. And it's just understanding automotive paint in general. I mean, we have all of these products, all of these chemicals come out, you know, when you're a new detailer, you're not really sure what the alkaline, I mean, I know we're talking pH, but what the alkaline soaps are, what the acidic soaps are, which one should you use on your paint and when, what polishes, what pads. I mean, there's so much that goes into understanding paint. Where does it start? Can you start with kind of the basics and breaking it down, like your clear coat versus
Well, yeah.
Just give it to us.
The biggest thing is people got to understand is paint is probably the most complex thing on a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's more complex than most of the engines. It's more complex because of what it goes through. It's one of the few components that is exposed to probably some of the more extreme conditions. It's one of the most expensive parts of a vehicle. And a lot of that goes into the fact of the chemistry. I mean, you can go clear back in yesterday's when they were painting with metallic based powders that they sprayed onto vehicles back in the 20s and 30s. And then they evolved into lacquers. And then they evolved into enamels and various different other paints. A lot of those were single stages. A lot of the cars you see, and believe it or not, even some of the manufacturers today, like Porsche, still use some single stage paints on some of their solid colors, like the reds, the whites, the blacks. They're not a base coat, clear coat on all of those. And single stage is a paint that combines clear and color mixed all together. It doesn't have layers. Most modern paint, since about the end of the 80s, started shifting to base coat, clear coat, where you have a pigment layer followed with a clear coat layer.
Okay.
And now the things that make paint complex so much is all those layers. Because if you look at like the metal of a panel, how do you keep that panel from corroding underneath? You have to use an etching type of primer, and then you have to use a sealer. And then after the sealer is, maybe it needs a flex additive because you're going over plastic parts, because plastics expand and contract differently with hot and cold, or when you touch them, they flex to keep the paint from just popping off. When it does that, you have to do things, and then you're adding on to that. Then you put your color layer, and then your clear layer. Now let's even go into other things where you've got pearls and metallics, where now you're getting into what they call three-phase color technology, where you're a base coat, a mid coat, and then a clear coat, and all of them can have a color in it. Take my truck, which is it's what's tint coat red. Okay, it's Cajun tint coat red. There is the red underneath, a pearl metallic on the top of that, and then a pearl in the clear that's on top of that. And all three of those make up the color. So you can see how it gets really complex.
Yeah.
And even correcting paint on a vehicle like that can be a little sketchy, because as you're removing clear, you're also removing some of what makes up that color.
So single stage paint, obviously no cars at this point are single stage.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There is still very few.
Very few. Very few.
So then how do you know if a car is single stage or not?
First way to tell usually is when you start going to polish on it.
Okay.
You'll notice that color transfer will be on your pad.
Okay. So the color transfer is what? Okay. What is the okay, we've all heard this like black, you know, GM paint, so soft. What is the deal with the soft paint and hard paint? Is that just a manufacturer's deal? And why do all manufacturers use different paints? You would think to make the system so simple, like everybody would just have the same. What is it with that?
So the difference there is, again, in different color technology, different layer technology. So the problem is that in the ever-evolving things of paint, so like now they're using waterborne paints. They're not solvent-based like they used to be. So that technology evolved. A lot of the waterborne paints have switched to a very soft, because the way they cure, they don't cure rock hard like some of the older solvent-based paints did. The solvents would evaporate, and as those solvents evaporate, they leave a rock hard surface.
Hmm. Okay, I'm telling you guys, I am trying to if you guys see me taking notes, it's not about giveaways tonight. I am literally learning here. This is this is some good stuff. So, what are the common misconceptions about paint that you have come across? What do people get wrong about car paint?
Well, I think a lot of it is in the overall care. Um, you see a lot of people, they buy a brand new vehicle and they don't educate themselves on how to care for the exterior of a vehicle. They know how to change the oil, they know how to change the air filter, they know how to do other services, but they don't know how to care for their paint. Not understanding that paint is actually very important. Let's say you want to go resell the car someday. What's the first thing a person's going to see when they come to look at your car to buy it? They see the exterior of it and either how trashy it is or how good it is. People don't understand the proper care of it. So usually in clear coat, in paint and clear coat, there's usually about 5 years worth of UV protection, unless you take care of it correctly. The longer you allow things like contaminants, iron particles, dirt, grime, etching, bird droppings, salts, all of that to get on there, it erodes that protection away quicker.
Okay, I won't go. I'm trying to keep, I know what we have coming, and so I'm trying to keep my my comments in line so that we don't go further into our content. Let me stick with my head's going in circles right now. And by the way,
the biggest thing is proper care. That's the biggest misconception, is proper care.
Proper care. Okay. And you guys, we will do a Q&A at the end. I have a feeling that as we continue to talk, like we're going to start talking about measuring paint and such. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I will star them. We will get to questions at the end here. So let's talk about the whole paint measuring, the concept of reading the surface and measuring paint. Now, I bought a paint gauge, and I think it is the one that you have. Is it the Next Gen? Is that the one that you have with you there?
Oh, yeah. I hope everybody likes plenty of props. I've got props and things to do. We're going to be interactive.
I love it. We need to see it. Yes. I have heard such misconceptions. I was one of those who in the beginning bought all of these tools and things because everybody said I needed them. But it's always been such kind of mixed signals in terms of, oh, you don't really need to measure your paint. It's not going to do anything. What is your thoughts on paint measuring? Is it important to measure thickness before you polish?
There's not a car that comes through myself personally or the shop that doesn't get paint measurement. If you're not taking the time to check it, you're asking already for troubles. And the reason why is how do you know that it's not been repainted? How do you know that it's factory paint? How do you know that it's only 2 mil, 3 mil? How do you know if it's not 6 mil? How do you know if there's not a spot there that's body filler? That's another reason why this particular paint measuring tool is really great. Because one, it will tell you if you've got body filler. It will tell you if you've got like weird spots, odd metals underneath. It will identify irons, zincs, steels, aluminum. It does work on aluminum. It doesn't work on plastics or fiberglass or composites. It's rare that many do. You have to spend really huge money into the multiple thousands to get that kind of technology. But this alone can save your bacon more than you realize, because you start going around the vehicle and you should really follow the guideline of what this tells you to measure. You create an actual, complete measurement system for the entire vehicle. And what that does is you're going to let it tell you where you're going to measure. It'll give you 4 points on every panel of the vehicle, 4 to 5 points. You should measure all 4 to 5 points. Let it record those. into the app. One, you can generate that and use that as a report for your customer to show them the thickness, the things. You can email it, you can send it, you can save it in their file, in their documents as your customer database. But then you go through and all of a sudden, let's say you start going, hey, this fender, left front fender, 5, 5, 5. You get to the door, 5, 5, 5. Get to the roof, 6, 6, 6. And then all of a sudden I get to the right rear quarter and it tells me 10. And then tells me 3.5 in another spot. It's going to tell me that that fender's probably been repainted, that quarter panel.
Okay.
And that I should be aware and cautious, that I should go, do I really want to go after what this guy's asking me to go after? Because if he wants me to do this, I'm making him sign a waiver. I'm making him understand that there's things going on with your paint that maybe they bought the car that way and they had no idea. So it helps you. Now, it's not a foolproof thing where you're going to go, oh, that tells me I've got 3 mils of clear to do. No, you should take it as, if you get a measurement of 6 mils, 5 mils, and it is a factory paint, you've probably got 2 mils of clear is what you've got. And the rest of that is primer, base coat, etching compound, all of the other stuff underneath. So be cautious of how far you go.
Okay. I'm glad you said this because on my car, I have just that, on the upper left fender, it's like, I don't know, 3.5. And then on the door panel, it's like 6 or 7 or something like that. I mean, and I knew it was a repaint, but I didn't understand all of that, that went with it.
Right. And I get it that an enthusiast or a hobbyist, may not spend the money that one of these costs. And I get that. But even if you do that, find one that's an inexpensive model that you can order that has great reviews. I mean, I bought this one. Is it as good as the other one? Not even close. Not even close. But this one will do the job to help give me some caution. To give me an idea and go, ooh, that says it's 2.5, 2.8 mils. I'm not touching that. And you shouldn't.
Okay. So Vice, and before Vice brings up a good question, I was actually just going to ask this, so I will ask it. But before we do that, for some of these products you have like that paint gauge reader, maybe we can, or find a link and I can drop it after the show into the description so that if anybody wants to check it out, you can go to the description and find some of those things. So Conway, how do you handle paint for correction when you see it has been repainted? What is your process there? This is my question. Mine is repainted.
When you're dealing with a repaint, one, you want to know how soon has the repaint happened. If it's something recent, like let's say they redid the whole car, well, the best bet is to try and let that paint cure. At least I'd say, and it depends because not all situations. Let's say they've got a bake oven, but they can bake it. 30 days is usually, where you want to be. 60 to 90 days is preferable for most of that. And the reason is that you don't want to, damage paint that has solvents still releasing, because solvents are still releasing out of the paint. You can create issues where you can trap stuff, create solvent pop inside. You can make it soft and or softer, and then damage the paint that way too. If it's been a while, so let's say it's been years, and it's a repaint situation, are we talking just a panel? Are we talking an entire car? An entire car usually means that they probably didn't take all the old paint off. They sanded it down, used that as almost a primer to paint over the top. So your measurements are probably going to be pretty thick, 5, 6, 8, 10 mil. So that's going to tell you that you've got a double layer of paint system on it. Now you have to establish, did they single stage repayment or base coat clear coat? Take a quick test spot. Find out if you get color transfer. Now you know it's base coat or clear coat. Do you have color transfer in your pad? Do you have no color transfer? It's more of that clear, milky situation. If that's what you're dealing with, now you know you've got base coat, clear coat versus a single stage. When you're dealing with a repaint, you got to go with caution. And if you're doing this on other people's cars, you're probably going to want to have them sign a waiver and explain to them, I'm only willing to go this far. If you want me to go farther, that's on you. I'll do it. But if we burn through, if it damages it, I ain't paying for nothing. It's on you.
Okay. Conway, I know, and I hate to kind of put a kink in it, but your audio is just a little bit crackly, crunchy.
How about if I go a little closer?
No, it doesn't bother me, but there's been several people that have kind of brought it up in the chat. So like I said, it's not bothering me. It's just a little, I don't know how else to explain it, but kind of like a crunchy sound. I don't know if it's
Try it without.
Oh, that sounds a little better. What do you think, guys?
How's that?
That's a little better. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't bothering me, but Vice said he thinks you should unplug and replug the wire.
Sure. Oh, wireless.
Oh, it's wireless. So it's better. I think we're good. It's better.
No,
I mean, there's still a little, it's just a little static. That's all. It's fine.
I'd love to just real quick and just say, I'll apologize for my voice to everybody. So my voice kind of got a little damaged here recently and it hasn't come back full yet. So I'll apologize. Some of that may be even just my voice currently at the moment.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I don't know. It might be the earphones. Someone said turn it off and back on, but like I said, I don't, it's not bothering me, guys. Hopefully it's not bothering you. I don't know if you have an option to turn your mic on and off. I don't know. Yes, we do still love you, Conway. Tim says we still love you. Not to worry. So what are the numbers you are looking for before you start correcting? What numbers are a go and what numbers are a no?
Usually, unlike a factory paint, I will correct on anything that's, over 3.5, but you're talking light. When you start getting into 3.5, that should be kind of close to your shut off number. When you're dealing with down to like 3, you're talking about just a polish, a clean it up, don't get too crazy. When you start getting more than that, so like I recently had a GM truck, and it was black, of course, you know how GM black is horrible soft. Brand new truck, 125 miles on it, and it had 6 mils. That's a lot. But it had spots on it where it looked like somebody drug a rake across the roof.
Oh.
I mean, some hefty gouges, some gouges in the door, and all of that I got, and they wanted me to make it new, like gone.
Yeah.
So, and I was able to do that.
Okay. There is a couple of, there are a lot of questions, but since it has to do with paint, I'll go ahead and put them up here. So that one we answered. Tim just had one. When you spray clear or paint, what size orifice on your gun? 1.3. Pressure setting on your compressor, 2 bar. Do you lay down another layer in 10 minutes? This is a loaded question, so I'll let you answer.
Tim, what I usually do is so my clear gun is a 1.3. So I like to actually shoot with either HVLPs, or this gun is actually a LVLP. And the nice things about LVLPs are they lay down, they don't have a lot of overspray. So you're not getting paint everywhere else. It's actually going on the car. You don't need a huge compressor. You only need about 4 to 5 CFM. A a 30-gallon compressor is more than enough to paint an entire car at 90 psi. Of course, on the actual tool, we're running about 4 CFM, probably at about 25 psi with an LVLP type gun, and using a 1.3 orifice. And then as far as laydown time, it's like a color coat. The color depends. Color changes the orifice. Color depends on, like, if there's high amount of metallic particles, I'm going to use a larger orifice because you're going to need that metallic particle to go through that orifice. A 1.3 is better for like clear. As far as the timeline, it varies from paint system to paint system, but like most of the clears, I usually lay down a dry coat, and it's not heavy, it's just a dry coat. And then I'll let that flash for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then I lay down the first heavy coat. And then I'll let that flash for another 30 minutes. And I'll lay down another coat. Sometimes you'll need to let it, flash for a little while longer because you don't want to trap solvent in there. So you're not layering and building solvent up underneath. Color coats, you can usually, dry coat and then every 15 minutes layer over another. And it also depends on, what solvent you're using in there, your reducer. If you're using a fast reducer, slow reducer, a medium reducer, all of those change how fast it evaporates, it cures, temperature of the day. That all makes a difference. If you're painting at 85 degrees and you're using a medium reducer, you're going to be able to go on a whole lot quicker because it evaporates a lot faster. It cures a lot quicker. You're not going to get runs. You're not going to get a lot of solvent trap.
So, and with that question, I know Tim is also asking then what clear are you applying? He's saying Omni, PPG, or Nova.
It depends on the job. I mean, I've got customers that it's a budget job, or it's a high-end job. So high-end jobs that I could be doing anything from Omni or PPG or House Color, or it really depends on what I'm working with. I actually work with Sherwin-Williams Automotive Finishes a lot. They make a lot of great products. And then there are some of the cheaper ones, which, you have your blending clears and it's a very complex order of a lot of different things.
So I know Dan just made a comment that he has no clue about any of this stuff, so much to learn. And if you guys see my face, my mind is boggled right now because it is, but it is definitely intriguing. So I'm guessing Tim has some experience in spraying clear coat and things of that sort. Tim, how long has Tim been detailing? I know he calls himself this old detailing dude, but I figure it's been a while for him too.
Tim's an old guy like me.
But Tim looks great, just like you. So what is your opinion on wipe on clear? This is an interesting one because who is it? Fine Lab that has the wipe on. What do you think about those?
So wipe on clear coats, they probably serve a purpose. Biggest problem with them is a lot of them yellow, a lot of them don't have the durability. You are in no way ever going to get the same kind of finish. It's a Band-Aid, and that's really what it is for a situation on a hood or some area that you've got that the clear is failing. So you can sand that and you can wipe it on, let it cure up, and you look better than you did before. But it's not the same as like doing a repaint. Not even close.
Okay. Let's get into talking about paint correction because, and again, hopefully guys, I'm getting your comments. Tanner's making a joke here. He said, just use Rust-Oleum turbo spray system. Funny story. My daughter has a car out here, a Volvo. It's an older car and the paint is it's awful. And one day I came home from my son's practice, and my dad was literally spray painting the hood of our car. Like he had gone and bought, like, I don't even know what kind of spray paint. And I about died pulling into the driveway. I was like, oh my God, Dad, what are you doing? And he's like, just touching it up. I'm like, probably not the way to go, but you know, in his mind, you know, that's what was right to him. So now I have to fix that. But you're going to have to teach me, Conway. So let's talk about paint correction, and let's really just go step by step. You know, this is for people who know nothing about paint correction. So starting with inspection to refinement, what is our process? What is your process? What do you suggest as a process for paint correction?
Well, so this depends a lot on, are we talking at an enthusiast level to a pro level? Because there's going to be different aspects to all of that. And how you approach it will depend on a lot of that. Like, what do you want to spend? What do you want to do? What do you know, it really depends on what you want. So let's say you're an enthusiast, and my approach to give advice to an enthusiast would be, what do you want to invest in doing this? I mean, because there's a billion and one polishers, a billion and one pads, a billion and one polishes. There's 52 different methods being taught out there, whether it's, you know, don't use rotary, use rotary, use rotary for polishing only, use the DA to cut, or use rotary to cut, use DA to polish. I mean, it really depends on things. My best advice for somebody that's an enthusiast, a beginner, start with a DA. Start simple. Plan a budget around quality, you know, polisher. There's nothing wrong with a corded polisher. I mean, I use plenty of corded polishers still. Yes, that is a wonderful polisher from Fine Labs. Probably not the one you want to go out and buy because they're crazy expensive, but there are other ones out there from, you know, various different places that you can pick them up, like the Hercules models, that you can pick up reasonable. And there's nothing wrong. I started with a rotary, so I've spent most of my life working with a rotary. But that doesn't mean that everybody else should. You have to find what fits your comfort level. Get an assortment of pads. Find out more information about the vehicle you're going to do this on. If this is your vehicle, talk to people that are out there that know and say, hey, what are the chances my vehicle has soft paint? It's a 2001 Porsche Cayenne or Porsche. It's a 99 Audi. It's a 2019 Chevy truck that's black. It's a Tesla, you know. And there are people out there that'll be able to tell you Tesla paint is soft as could be. GM black is soft as could be. Same time, you can have the same year of truck in a different color, like silver, like Chingy's truck, and it's hard, not soft like my truck or the black. You could have, so you want to get that information so that way you can kind of get an idea of what pad you're going to need to buy. You're probably going to need a polish and a compound. I know a lot of people just say, oh, all you need is a polish. Great. If all you want to do is polish it and make it shinier, but you're not looking to correct, that's great. That's fine. If you want to correct scratches and make scratches go away, well, you're going to have a compound. You're going to have an aggressive pad. You're going to have softer pads to fix up what the aggressive stuff did. So there's a lot of variables into it for an enthusiast. As a pro, understand that your investment should be large. I don't know how to explain it any other way to that when you're doing vehicles, you should probably have half a dozen to a dozen of any given pad that you have. I have a pad washer and I use my pad washer, but I use my pad washer more so not going to and from the vehicle when I'm done. So that way I don't have to do pad laundry day and I got to wash 5,000 pads. But what I do is I go and then I switch pad, and I switch pad. Well, first off, it's better because why? You're giving that pad a break. If you constantly are grinding on a pad, and I don't care if you take it over and you wash it, and then you put it back on. A lot of people think you're cooling the pad off. No, you're still working the material. You're never giving that material a chance to rest. So the foam structure, the wool structure, any of that never gets a chance to rest. People go, can I use one pad to do an entire vehicle? Can you? Yes. Should you? No.
Okay. Okay. See, and again, I mean, I'm sure it's just a differing of opinion, but that makes sense. I've heard a lot of you can use one or two pads, so this is good information, and that makes sense. The breaking down of the actual structure by not letting it rest.
So
Okay.
the thing to look at, it's like on this pad here, I had seen on where overworking a pad causes on the buff and shine, like the edge guards like this, causes them to start to tear around here. That's because you never give the pad a break. You're running the pad silly. And if you constantly are compressing, pushing, and we're not talking about a lot of force, but when you get it on there and you start getting heat to it, this thing softens up. As it softens up, you got the twisting motion that it's got going into it, plus this orbital if you're using a DA. So it's constantly got movement going on with it. Now I'm going to take it to a pad washer, but I'm going to bring it right back. I'm going to take it to a pad washer. That's like me having you run a 1,000,000,000 marathon, but every 100 yards, I'm going to throw a bucket of water on you. Did your legs ever get a break? Did your body ever get a chance to rest?
That makes sense.
No, because it's constantly being worked and worked and worked and worked. So just know that pads are an investment. If you're a professional, you should be figuring that into the price of your work because they are a consumable investment.
Now, when you polish, are you a mow down type of guy? Are you slow and steady? Does it depend on the job?
So like if I'm using a rotary, which I usually cut with rotary first on most of the stuff that I cut with. It's all about technique and understanding that the way you're going should be the way you're tilting. And that's the way you cut as far as it goes. Use adequate pressure, you don't want to kill it. A lot of things that, even with the DA, if you're using a DA and you're cutting with a DA, I'd love people to take a postal scale. If you want to know how much pressure you should apply, take your head of your machine and just balance it and hold it with a battery and everything, or if it's corded, set it on that scale and you're going to probably see pretty close to 5 pounds. Now then, while you're standing there, just rest your hand on it. Not putting down any force, just rest your hands on it. You're going to probably see close to another 5 pounds. You now have 10 pounds of down force you're applying. You need more cut. Now you start applying a little bit more, and you want to go to probably no more than about 15. So you figure weight of this, weight of your hands, and 5 pounds of pressure should usually be about the maximum that you want.
Okay. We have a couple questions here. Let's go ahead and get to them. Tanner says, what's the minimum amount of paint in mils and microns that you'll compound?
Compound and cut, depending on how bad the scratches or whatever it is and the imperfections I'm removing, bar none, 3.5.
Okay. Sorry, trying to find him here. How much from J Farm here? Clear does an enhancement or one step. So I'm sorry, how much clear does an enhancement or one step typically take? How many
You're removing
in the lifespan of paint?
You're removing so much. So there is approximately, let's just call it almost 25 microns to a mil. 24 point whatever it is. Just call it 25 microns per mil almost. In a enhancement or like a one-step correction, you're probably lucky if you're removing 1 to 2 micron.
Okay. So how many enhancements do you have then in the lifespan of a paint job, would you say? Just again, that was all depending
like,
on the
So
paint.
if you're doing a polish, and you could probably polish depending on the thickness of the vehicle, what we're talking about. Let's say you've got a vehicle and it's 5 mils. You could probably enhance, in other words, just do a polish, not going after any crazy correction, 15, 20 times without being a problem. I mean, because like I was saying, clear in most cases in something like that is probably 1.5 mils. So 1.5 mils, if there's 25 microns to a mil, you're 40-ish. And if an enhancement removes 1 to 2 microns, I mean, 10 microns taken away from that, you're still more than a mil of thickness. I mean, I've done stuff where I've wet sanded, taken measurements and shown people, wet sanded, scratch out, measured, and they're like, it almost didn't change. How did that happen?
Okay.
Because you got to understand that you're not looking to try and, it's harder to burn through paint really than most people give credit to. If you burn through paint, you're doing something really wrong. You either didn't measure and it's 2 mils, your speed is at full bore, you're at 6 on the dial, and you're putting down 25 pounds of downforce.
Okay.
And you're just pushing. And you're standing in one spot too long.
Yeah.
Paint correction should be methodical. It should be here, here, here. That's a pass, okay? Now we're going to make another pass. So, and you should be able to count that off, and you should be able to know that you're doing, something right as far as it goes. And I mean, for goodness sakes, if you're not checking the scratches that you're going after, you can catch your fingernail in it. Don't. That's not a scratch you should go after.
Okay.
Because that's down into probably the color coat. That's past the clear. Test panels. I mean, I do know people, I've got good friends, Eddie, that don't do test spots usually. I'm a religious test spot guy. There's a reason. Once you screw something up for the first time or several times, you go, I'm not going to do that again. Plus, if you want to get to the fastest resolve of figuring out what you need to do to fix this car, a test spot is your best friend.
I think and it might be something simple to somebody who has much experience, but being that I am still a newbie when it comes to paint correction, I think the hardest thing for me is understanding what pad to use, what polish to use.
That's great.
That
That's fantastic.
is where I need
Here's the best advice I can give. Methodical. Be very logical and thought out. So we're going to go do a test spot. Mark off a 2x2 section. Okay. You can even tape it. And sometimes taping for yourself isn't trying to just show everybody else. It gives you a true divided line that when you pull the tape off, it reveals. And then you can see a huge difference and go, sometimes people will do a test spot and then they go, I just don't see it. It doesn't look enough. But when you make a true barrier that's not like kind of like you're blending into, that's a hard line, and you reveal it, it has a tendency to open in your eyes. So test spots. Start least aggressive, working most aggressive. 1. So, and I don't mean that you should start with like a pad that's like, you know, that's like butter soft. We know that this is going to be for enhancement. We know that this is going to be, okay, I need to cut. So we're going to jump to a pad that has, you know, some teeth, something that's got, you know, like a blueberry, something like an Agent Orange, you know, something like a maroon that's even stiffer. So we're going to start with probably like a blueberry. And the reason why we're going to start with like a blueberry on something like that, because it's medium aggressive to light aggressive. And you're going to do your test spot. Okay. Now I'm also going to recommend don't jump all over the place with your compounds. Start with one, stick with that. People have a mistake a lot of the times. They start changing way too many things all at once. What worked? So can you tell me what worked? No, you can't, because you're jumping all over the place. The thing you want to change first is the pad. Stay with the same compound through all of that. Change your pad first. So the pad is what really truly is the cut. The compound boosts that cut or reduces that cut, but this is truly what makes the cut happen. The pad is the biggest part of it. So, I mean, you want more cut and you're looking for the most, then you're talking wool. So, you know, and with the wool, that's like the most aggressive.
Okay.
And I'll tell everybody, I'm not a microfiber guy. I don't like microfiber stuff primarily because it creates way too much excessive heat. I like to keep heat on panels down. But back to the methodicalness of it. Change your pad. So let's say you did a blueberry and you reveal the tape and you go, you know, that's just not quite enough. Okay. So then right next to your next to that test spot, create another border. Step up to the next pad. So let's say maroon is the next pad. Same compound. Don't change your compound. Just change the pad. Same downforce. Same speed. Don't change your speed. Don't change your hand speed. Keep your hand speed steady, about 1 inch per second. Just and do the same amount of passes. And then check it. And then see where you're at. And you go, that got me the correction I want, but it's a little hazy. So this is going to need to be a 2-step. Or I can go backwards to the blueberry with less correction and go, okay. But let's say, so now you've found a pad and it cuts really good, but you're left with a lot of haze. Now we have options. Option is we can step back down to the blueberry. Now what we're going to do is we're using a specific compound. I helped Don with this the other day. Don called me and had one that just wouldn't remove the scratches well enough. He was using this pad, that pad, tried different compounds. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you have on hand? So I think we talked about using blueberry. It's either blueberry or maroon. And he had a certain compound. I says, well, got any rocks in a bottle? And he's like, well, yeah, I've got #1 picar. Says, okay. 3 dots of your other compound that you're using already that isn't giving you quite yet what you want, and add 2 dots of #1 picar to that mix. Sometimes you have to think outside of the box and go, and he did the cut on it, and he calls me back and he's like, that was perfect. How'd you know? Well, sometimes we need to just change a little bit and adding a little bit of cut, but we don't want to add a whole bunch of haze. So we've got the other stuff in there that provides the finish.
Okay.
And this just boosted the cut of what's providing the finish.
Whew, yeah, somebody said Conway dropping knowledge. Is he not? Dan says you're the MacGyver of correction. Very solid advice here. Um, what, Conway, sorry, we are going to get to colored chips in a minute. Vice, or no, this is unpolished detailer. Is there a good way to pull pads off without damaging? Find that they are on pretty good. I know I feel the same way when I'm having to rip them off. Are we damaging them when we're ripping them off the way that we are?
No, one of the best things I can tell you is they make a pad brush. And if you look at a pad brush, usually use it on like wool pads and stuff to scrub them out and stuff like that. If you flip it around the other end, it's got kind of like a spatula thing. It's like
Yeah,
almost like a blade looking. Insert that in between the pad Velcro and the backing plate Velcro, and now peel.
makes it easier.
It helps.
Yeah.
Right.
David says, hope there isn't a test. Yeah, I'm quizzing y'all after this, so you better be ready. What is your go-to test spot location? And that is a good question, because as you were talking about test spots, I'm thinking, is the hood the best place to start, or is there a certain area that you think gives the most feedback for you on paint?
It's really like kind of dealer choice. You're gonna want to pick a spot that the damage that you're looking at that you want to try and fix. So I usually try and go around and find the spots that are the worst. Spots that are larger, like a hood, trunk, lid, door panel, quarter panel. But I try and find an area where it has the most swirls, the most damage, the most any of that stuff that you're dealing with. And the reason why you want to do that, because if you know you can take out the worst of it with that, then the rest of it is cake. I always like to attack things from the suckiest part first, because if you get that over with, now the rest of it's downhill.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Then everything else feels easier. Makes sense. Couple more questions. Oh, actually, one just came in. How does Conway feel about washing pads with a pad washer? I think we kind of talked about this a minute. He does use a pad washer. How does he feel about washing microfiber pads, which you don't really use? But you're saying then you are not one that is just going and washing your pad with the pad washer every panel or two. You are
No.
using several different pads and washing at the end.
So for myself, and understand that I'm either doing lots of cars. So my investment in my pads, I've got hundreds of pads. So you take Agent Orange, I've got probably 20 or 30 of these. I find what works for all the things that I'm going to need, and I invest and I buy 20 or 30 of them. Now, as I'm doing jobs, let's say I'm doing a coating job, I'm doing a correction job, these end up in part of that billing process because they are not a permanent fixture. I can use them on multiple cars, but they don't last forever. So you have to put that as a consumable item that goes on and on and on and on.
Oh.
So with consumables, you got to be sure you do that. So I'm a guy that I'll correct, and because I want to let the pad material rest, I peel it off, toss it in a bin. When I use my pad washer, it's usually at the end of the job. Then I go over to the pad washer and I'm bump, and then they go into another bin, clean. And then they're ready to dry and ready to use again. So now I'm not like, uh-oh, I'm out of pads. I gotta wash pads. Now I'm like throwing them in a washing machine. I'm throwing them because I don't like doing that. It's really fast for me to do that.
I saw a question online, was it yesterday? Somebody asking whether they should be purchasing 5-inch or 6-inch. What is your preference?
5 inches is probably the most common. 6 inches, there's not a lot of pad manufacturers for 6 inches. Most machine backing plates are 5 inches. There are a few Rotaries are probably one of the few that are a common 6-inch. I mean, so my rotary will do both 5-inch and 6-inch. It's got a backing plate adapter that just Velcros on, allows me to do 6-inch pads. But for the most part, I invest in 5-inch pads, not 6-inch.
Okay. Vice is asking, do you put beads on the pad or line it up on the paint? Or is that preference? I've seen so many people do it or both ways.
Rotary, I will usually season the pads. Like if I've got a wool pad, I'll season it, and then I'll lay a line onto the actual panel, and I'll come across and I'll catch it. DA, DAs or flingers. I mean, you can do it, but man, I see too many people just fling and polish everywhere with DAs when you try to come across.
Okay.
So I usually put it on the pad, dot it out, and then spread it out, and then, work it.
Okay, guys, so we've been on for about an hour. I'm going to do a quick giveaway. I know that you guys probably see it ticking on the screen there, but just a little bit of a shout out on Amazon and the absolutely smoking deals that started today on Amazon. I believe go in there now. We'll show you 20% off of Clean Tool. We'll also show you 20% off of the Not a Beach Towel. It's 10% off on the DIY drying blanket. Oh, I missed 20% off on Thor brushes as well. So get those deals while they're hot on Amazon. Not to mention today, Infinity V2 dropped at the House of Rags. I know Eddie and Jamie were on earlier giving a little demonstration of that. So we are going to give away a 16-ounce bottle of Infinity V2. So I'm going to make this super quick and simple. How old did Conway say he was when he started this whole thing we call the love of cars? How old was Conway? Super simple. So we can get this rolling here. Oh, I think Don got it. He is who I see first.
Yep.
That came super quick, but Don was first. Yes, he was 14. So Don, you know how to get a hold of me and we will get you that Infinity V2. Congratulations. Okay. We have a couple more questions, but I want to get into our next topic. Again, we kind of had already talked about, you okay with going over an hour, Conway?
Oh, I've got another hour to go.
I will tell you that we will probably end up with a part 2 of this because the next thing we're going to talk about is scratches, chips, and touch-ups, which might take a minute. So bear with us as we get into this next phase here. And I know Conway has some cool things for us. So talking about scratches, chips, and touch-ups, which is different than paint correction. Conway, I'm just going to let you kind of take it away. What is... we have the types of defects. We have squirrels. We have swirls, scratches, and chips. So let's start with chips, with paint chips. What is the proper way to repair a paint chip, and how easy is it to learn?
I think it's actually easier than most people make it out to be. The problem is there's way too much conflicting information. There's way too much overcomplication. There's way too much. First up, you have to look at why do we touch up paint chips? There's 2 reasons. And I know most people like to go, oh, because I want it to look better. That's the second reason, not the first reason. The first reason is we want to prevent further damage to the paint. Because what happens when you have an exposed chip, especially a chip that goes down to primer, down to metal, you're allowing water, moisture, and contaminants to get in underneath and work its way under the paint. And then it will spread. And if you live in cold climates, if you live in even hot climates, what happens is as the paint goes through hot and cold cycles, it expands and contracts. Well, guess what? Moisture freezes and expands. You ever taken a bottle of water and toss it in the freezer and watch the bottle of water expand and break or pop or push the lid off? Same thing. Heat can do a lot of the same thing because heat over paint causes expansion. And it also takes the moisture underneath, and what it does is it basically causes it to boil. So if you've got that and it basically overheats that moisture in there, now you're creating this almost eruption underneath the surface of the paint. And what that does is that creates separation, and then more corrosion and more moisture and more. It's an ongoing thing. So by fixing a deep scratch or a chip like that, what we're doing is we're preventing that from getting into the paint deeper.
Okay.
That way we don't allow that moisture, that contamination in there. The second aspect of it is going to be for the looks. Now we can enhance looks and we can make it look. The thing to remember is with chip repair, no chip repair is going to be 100%. You're
Okay.
not going to make it look like it looks like brand new. No. Only way that happens is if you respray it. Now, there are some techniques that I use that are more complex. Techniques that involve other tools like airbrushes.
Okay.
I can literally go in and pinpoint and spray in a base coat, clear coat, and layer it, and then spray a clear coat over it, and then sand it and polish it down. And really, you would be hard pressed to probably find the spot. This is not something that everybody's going to do.
Okay.
This is when somebody brings me their $100,000 classic and they go, I want it to look better. Can you help? And I go, sure. It's going to cost you a couple grand. And we're gonna go after it. And it's a long process. That's the other thing too with paint touch-up. Basically, paint in general. Patience. The old saying, patience is a virtue. It really is. You got to have some patience. When you're doing this, you're dealing with things like wet touch-up paints that you got to allow to dry and cure before you go getting crazy after it. In other words, you're just going to screw it all up. So you have to allow some things to procure themselves and happen and not try to rush it too far. There are a lot of other tools that are, great tools to use that most people don't even realize that you can use them. And I'm grabbing a few of those right now, and I'm going to show you things that you probably don't want to use to paint, fix the paint on your vehicle as far as chips go. All right. So things to make it easier. Brushes. Take brushes, right?
Okay.
Throw them in the trash.
Oh.
Okay. If you take paint, touch-up paint, okay, whether you get it from wherever, a lot of the places, what comes on the end of it?
Well, okay, so I'm going to stop you for a second. How do you match your paint? Because
so a lot of people ask me about like Dr. Color Chip. I don't use online sources like Dr. Color Chip. Most people, if they actually take the time to look in their own cities or nearby close, you've got either a part store or paint supply store that does automotive finishes that can actually mix you up a touch-up bottle just like this.
okay.
You might even be able to go to your local body shop that does paint work. They have a paint bank. And a paint bank is a great big bank of a bunch of paints, and they have triggers on them, and it allows them to pour them and mix them and mix the paints that they're going to apply to a vehicle. That's how we mix paints. I have paint banks. I mix paint and mix the colors. But you can go to a Napa Auto Parts store that maybe has a paint system. Even if you go to like some of the O'Reillys and places like that, they have like the duplicolors. Some of those will actually work. The thing I like about a paint store, so like if I go to Sherwin-Williams Automotive Finishes, if I go to Napa that has a paint bank in their store, you can get them to mix it. Now, your car has a paint code. You give them that paint code, your year, make, and model, and they can mix it to that. The important thing to remember is not every car that has that paint code is still the same color. And I can explain why. And it goes through the process of factory paint. So let's say last week, they were painting all the cars in the assembly line white. And what they do is they go, okay, we want to do this color. We're going to do pearl white. We've got how many cars? We got 2,000 of them. Okay, we're going to paint all of those. All of that paint is plumbed in through great big like lines through a system, and it's sprayed, and then it's run through a bake. It's all automated on like a train track type of deal. So now then, what do you think happens when a couple weeks from now they're going to paint blue cars? They just had white paint flowing through the lines that feeds the paint to the system. Now they flush them. They run a solvent through it. They flush them. They wash them out. But there's still residue. So the first few cars that go through that color is going to be tinted by that white a little bit.
Okay.
So what a paint store can do is they can match your paint better. They can actually, because when they pull up a paint code, there's usually multiple tints. Multiple tints, they have a card file that has that color that's been applied to these cards and the different tints. And they can actually take it out to your vehicle, hold it up to it and go, that tint matches better. We need the WS9 paint code with the T2 tint.
Okay.
So now you have actually a better product. Not only that, it's usually a cheap. So like the systems like Dr. Color Chip, they tend to overcomplicate things, I find. They send you a solvent, a blending mix, a squeegee, and squeegees can work at doing things. But I'm going to show you a tool that you've probably got laying around your house that you can probably touch up your paint with.
A paper clip.
Yep.
I'm fascinated. Okay. How?
So a lot of the times when I'm doing touch up, I'm using a paint well. When the paint goes in this well, it's got like a deal, and I can get it in there and I can dot it, I can drag it down a scratch, I can whatever. Another way that I do it is I have syringes that have a special needle that goes on there with a blunt tip. I can pull the paint into the syringe, and I can get onto it, and I can just dot it. Okay. I can go around and do a whole bunch of them with a paper clip. Ready for show and tell?
Yes. He's got a demo for us, guys.
So the problem with brushes leave brush marks. Brushes leave irregularities. Brushes leave stupid spots that really make things horrible. Now, I'm going to show you a couple different spots that this panel's kind of terrible, but I just put some spots. And we're not going to sand it yet. Normally what I would say to do is we need to sand it, and I'll show you even how to make a tool to sand it.
Okay, so you do sand paint chips.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So what I usually do, people usually have these laying around too. Take a pencil, take a hole punch. Punch out a hole on your sandpaper. It's like some 1500 grit. You punch that out, and then you hot melt glue the sandpaper onto the end of the eraser. Now you have a tool that you can get in there and sand the edges and be very precise at where you're sanding around the chip.
Sorry,
Make sense?
Yes, I'm trying to move you. You guys, I'm trying here. They wanted to move you to make you bigger. Let me see if I can do it. It's not working, guys. I'm sorry. I was trying.
Now,
I was thinking about that too.
so I will tell you, I'm working on doing paint chip repair work stuff for We Are Detailing Out, as well as my own channel.
Okay.
Conway's going to come out with new videos soon.
Nice.
but you can take a paper clip and it's very precise. We're just going to dip it into our chip and work it. We're going to allow gravity. So you go at the top of the chip, and this works whether it's a sideways panel, a flat panel, doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, I wish I could make you bigger right now. Greg is saying he can teach me later. I know there's a way. Darn it. We need to see you bigger, Conway.
So I'm just filling up chips with the paint that's
I know
on this.
we just can't see it.
I'm going to show you here.
Okay.
Just a quick moment.
Sorry, guys.
All right. There was a spot right there.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Greg. Or Adamo said that. Thank you. Okay.
So now then, what we want is we want more paint. So we want more paint. See how like this is raised up on the paint chip. See, I've got a bump.
Yeah.
We want that bump. Now you're going to let that bump dry. And the reason why is usually what happens is a form of shrinkage. You'll get the paint will recede back into the hole as it dries and cures and evaporates off. If it shrinks down in the hole and it leaves a crater, you need to add more paint on top. So let it dry up, give it a little scuff, add more paint. And you want to get it until you end up with a bulge. Once you have a bulge there with that, then you're going to sand it 1500 until it's flush with our tool we just made. And we can make it 1500, 2000, 3000. You can put whatever you need to on the end of this. And what that does is that gives you the ability to sand just in a very generalized. So you're not like hitting the clear everywhere around it and taking the clear out.
Yeah.
And then we're going to level that off.
Wow.
Once it's leveled off, now we can cut and polish it.
Wow. That is pretty neat. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk the end of a pencil? But how perfect is that? So one day, Conway, were you just like looking at a pencil on your desk and you just thought, you know what? Holy hell.
Yeah, I've probably
I mean,
been
you
doing
know?
I've probably been doing the pencil trick for probably about 20 years.
Wow. David's asking what kind of glue added to the eraser head. I'm sure just oh, look at here.
A simple
Just
hot melt
glue
gun.
gun. Yep.
And you
that's
know,
perfect.
you want to know why I picked this? You could super glue it, but what if I want to replace the paper on the end of it? Super glue won't let you. Plus, super glue gets into the eraser and makes the eraser really hard. I want the eraser to kind of stay that little pliable amount. Because
Yeah.
the pliable actually acts as an interface pad.
Okay.
So, and that's something important, like anytime you're sanding. I highly recommend either some sort of an interface or something like that. So, like, if I were to be sanding with this, if you look, this is the hand pad, but then this goes on here, and then now the sandpaper goes this, it's got a cushion.
Okay.
That allows me to not gouge and apply and dig in, but allows you to sand. And they make them even in really small. I dig this kit a lot because
Okay. Those
your sandpaper
sandpaper. Okay.
is right on there.
What kit is that?
Pick this one up off of Amazon, and this one is the
Oh, look at that. Okay. You guys, I'm going to get links to these things and I'll end up putting them in the description because that's a cool little set there. Somebody was asking, and I had the same question. You might have said it and I missed it. How long do you allow the touch-up paint to cure?
you know, if I'm at work and I'm in a hurry, I'm usually using a little bit of a heat gun and usually an hour or two because I want it to be fully cured. And then I check to see if I need to add more. If I add more, then I need to let it cure again. Um, Once it's cured, I'll let it set overnight because I want it to fully cure. And then I'll come out and I'll get it sanded down 1,500 and then 2,000 and then 3,000. And now and you don't want to just do it. You want to do around it a little bit into the outer surface
Okay.
because as you lower it, you want to kind of blend it. And then that way, when you cut it and polish it, it pretty much disappears. Same thing can be done on a scratch. So let's say you've got a scratch. You can literally lay the paint in and do the same thing. Go back over it, build it up, sand it down. Again, you got to have some patience. And then when you're done, polish it. You will have probably about 85% of it that people that don't know it's there will never know it's there. You might see it, but we're talking, you're going to look for it hard and go, where'd it go?
Yeah. So Dragon, we just answered this question, then will touch-up paint do the job on a long scratch to fill
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Answered the question. Yeah.
I've got a million and one methods to be able to do that. Sometimes I take it and I'll just literally rub the paint on it, like wipe it on it, let
Yeah.
it cure up, and run a polisher over across the top of it.
Yeah.
Cover it with clear, sand it, polish it, done. Some of the ones that are really deep and maybe even big, some of those I like to use a UV clearing body filler and basically use a UV light that once you apply it, gives you the ability to clear it, or even UV clearing clear, which is, it's a resin. You can put that over it as a clear and then clear it with UV light, or, actually cure it and then sand it and polish it.
Okay. Man, that light, that was a UV lamp that you just had? Like,
Mhm.
look at me, I'm over here thinking I need that just because it looked cool. I don't need it. But, again, yes, I will find links to all of these things, guys. I'll work with Conway and I'll get them, posted. David is asking, and you did already give kind of a little bit of your opinion, not really using Dr. Color Chip, but he's asking, what do you think about Dr. Color Chip and Chip X, which I've not heard of Chip X, is scratch and chip solutions. Are those
So
good
I've,
solutions?
I've used both. My problem is I run into lots of issues where color mismatches. They're
Okay.
really not close enough. Now, I'm going to show you another thing. Here's another reason why I deal with local paint companies, or part stores that do paint. These two bottles are for the same color, and I'll explain why. So one is the color, one is the pearl, because this car has a tinted clear. If you put, just like Dr. Color Chip sends you, it's like for my truck, because my truck has a tinted clear. If you were to just take their paint and put it on her, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You can see it from 10 feet, like, ugh, what was that? Doing it this way allows me to put the color on and then the right clear that's tinted over the top of it, and you never see it.
Hmm. Okay. What was that? Keeve links or kinks we call him. Oh, Keeve is on. What's up, Keeve? Let's see. So I think I tried to have or ask all the questions that had to do with paint correction and touch up paint chips. So much to learn here. I have a paint chip on my car, and I often look at it, and I can see it kind of getting worse. So I am actually really interested in knowing how to repair it. Like I said, Conway, we're going to have to one of these days when you have some free time, not like you have a lot of it, but I'm going to have to FaceTime you and you're going to have to walk me through it. So
Anytime for you. Anytime.
thank you. Westcott was asking, when you were talking about that airbrush, what clear do you recommend for a small area DIY? Or clear you recommend for airbrush?
I usually just pick up something that's inexpensive. That's
Okay.
a 2K clear. It usually has a reducer, a hardener, and a clear. Nothing crazy expensive. You don't, because you need something that's going to actually kind of blend in. And then um, I have products that I use over the top of that I'll spray it with a little bit. And what its job is, it's kind of almost like a solvent, but it's meant to kind of melt the clear into the rest of the paint.
Okay. What media, like in terms of sanding media, blocks, discs, something else, are your favorite? What do you suggest?
Oh, I love lots of different stuff. Um, Papers, discs, you name it as far as it goes. These are fantastic.
Car Pro, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the few things. I'm not a real big Car Pro guy, and I'm not. Just, I don't know. But these are really, really awesome. I love these. Um, I use Kovacs paper. I use Trizac paper, 3M, either in sheets. And when you're doing a lot of body work and paint work, you're going to use sheets a lot, primarily because it's workable. But then I do like, you know, there's different sanding blocks that are like the 3M foam blocks. I've got probably 100 different blocks that are contoured, whether they're cylinders, curves, arches, squares, long blocks, short blocks. Just depends. I do also have the grid sticks. I like using those a lot. These are great for smaller areas and stuff like that, because I can take the paper or even like the 3-inch sanding discs from Car Pro, and I can use those to get in areas and sand and contours. But most always, again, you saw like the handles like this for doing some of it. There's a lot of different things when you're doing sanding work.
We have B. Riley here asking, have you ever used a denibbing, am I saying that right, tool before sanding the blob?
A denibbing tool, I have.
Denibbing.
Denibbing tools can work. You can actually even make one out of a razor blade, like that's got a single edge, and then that's got the backside that would go like in a regular razor knife, and then put tape around each corner side of it, and then run it across the surface. The tape basically lifts the razor blade off a little bit, so you can shave the paint nib. Denibbing tools, they're all right. I prefer to just sand it. I mean, honestly.
Vice is asking, are you sanding before adding paint, or paint, let it cure, and then sand?
Yes, I sand before paint and prep the area. So that area in there, one, you want to get that area kind of cleaned up, because the chip has probably gotten some corrosion, some muck, some garbage in there. It's already got a little etching going on. So you need to get in there and clean it out some. Plus you want to kind of help clean up the edges so they're not so heavy and jagged, create a little bit of almost like a bevel. Not crazy, but a little bit. And then put your paint in the spot.
Okay. Don asked earlier, what is your favorite car brand of paint to work on and why?
Oh, my favorite car,
like the paint, what's your favorite?
The brand of paint or the brand of car?
I think brand of paint. Like what brand of car has the best paint to work on? Don, if I'm saying that correctly, if not, let me know.
I don't care, because it's all paint.
So you don't mind the GM soft black paint?
I love them. They don't give me any problems. It's everybody else I hear, it's I don't have problems.
Yeah, because you know what you're doing. You're the professional.
You do enough of them, and you just like, it's probably ones I don't like the most are the ones that somebody went out and screwed up, with all sorts of aftermarket paint. But they did the fender here 2 years ago. They did the right quarter 10 years ago. They did the hood last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a mess, so.
Now, while you're doing, I mean, in your shop, in your business, are you doing more everyday cars or you're more like the show cars, aren't you? Or is it a mix?
It's a mix. We want to be the, we want to be the, do everything for everybody. And I mean, and I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that's why you have people that specialize in being good at certain things. So like when you're doing detailing, you have a crew of guys that, 4 guys that they're doing exterior, interior, and they're whipping out cars left and right on the maintenance program. And you're going to go through 50 cars in a week. But you're efficient at doing that. When you're doing automotive tech work, you've got a master tech doing that work. When you have somebody doing paint corrections, ceramic coatings, and yet you want somebody that's good at that. Same thing goes with security systems, sound systems, classic cars, carburetors. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of finding people with the talent.
Okay. Now, I know you touched a little bit on like the polishers, you're polishing with Fine Labs polisher. I didn't see what the other one, but what is your go-to? What are you picking up before anything else if it's just based on preference?
Corded polishers are all Fine Labs.
All
My cordless polishers are ShineMates and Milwaukee's.
Okay.
They're durable, they're smooth, they work great. They don't cost $1 billion. Got a bazillion batteries for them. I've never had any of the batteries fail yet. And they work.
Okay. What polishes are you using? Let's say we'll do different scenarios here. What are you grabbing if you're just doing a paint enhancement? What are you grabbing in terms of a compound if you need something more aggressive? And then what is the most aggressive go-to polish that your go-tos?
I know if I do this and then stand up, you guys can see all the stuff
Yeah,
hanging on shelves.
we have some questions about your shelves too, but I haven't gotten to those yet.
Conway is a product whore.
Guilty.
And that goes for polishes, compounds. I've got, I don't know, probably 50 different bottles of stuff. I mean, literally. Just depends on what I'm in the mood for, you know?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of stuff that works. Anything that doesn't work goes in the trash. But I like Picar a lot. I like the Fine Labs products a lot for polishing compounds. Endgame is ridiculous good. There's a ton. I'm not a KCX guy when it comes to their polishers, really. Believe it or not, like the Rupas, they have their ultra pure, super fine. If you want something that will lay down the glossiest, shiniest finish with a fine pad, like we're talking like a mirror where reflections are like crystal clear. Yeah, it's good. I mean, but there's a lot. I mean, sometimes it's mix and match. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah.
Angel Wax, Redemption, gosh, all that stuff.
What is your favorite all-in-one?
I don't really ever do any all-in-ones.
Oh.
I mean, as far as that has protection in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to using them. I don't know why. It's because I want to see what I'm doing to the paint. And the problem with an all-in-one is it covers up. Jamie, you funny. Make me laugh better. All-in-ones, the problem is when you're done, it's all hidden. Because you're putting protection in there, the wax, the whatever. So yeah. Let's say there's in 2 to 6 weeks from now, when that's all gone, it's going to come back. So I like to see what's going on with my work, and then I like to put the protection of my choice on after.
Okay. That makes sense. William, we just answered that question. I literally just asked, sorry if you missed it. He doesn't really use one step.
Well, now one step.
Sorry. I was thinking all in one. I apologize. My bad. What is your one step polish? That's my fault.
One step polish. Again, that's a loaded question. And loaded question because not every car is the same. Not every situation is the same. You're going to have a polish that, like Endgame, that worked as a one step this time on this car, doesn't the next time. But I mean, Pie car number 2, Endgame, Fine Labs A500, they've even had A50 work as a one step. I mean, there are just so many that it just depends. Angel Wax, Redemption, I mean, a whole bunch of them.
Okay. So we are going to, again, we're about 1:30. I think I've answered most questions. There was a couple for one. Tim was asking if we can go ahead and ask it, what are your favorite Clean Tool products? We see that you have Clean Tool all back there. What are your favorite in that lineup?
Interior Pro, their new neutral APC is really good.
Yeah.
Their leather QD, their leather cleaner. Pretty much they only use their interior products. That's all I really use of. I'm not big on their exterior products. I wasn't real big on their rinseless. I wasn't real big on their like protector. Well, it just wasn't for me. Their interior products are really good. Probably one of the best ones they make is their Fabric Clean. Yeah.
Oh.
The Fabric Care Plus.
Yeah.
Fabric Care Plus. That stuff is legit. Now, if I'm doing terrible interiors, we're switching to the pro grade stuff like Chelsea used.
Yeah. Okay. Dan had also asked if I can remember. Sorry, Dan, I don't think I started, but I think I remember him asking what your favorite pre-wash is.
Pre-washes. So, like, if I'm doing a pre-wash, it's usually an alkaline wash. So it's usually something like Luminous L pre-wash, Chemexel Glory, Detail Co, hard wash.
Yeah.
Those are probably my main go-tos. Yum Wheel Foam is another one that can be used as a pre-wash.
Wow.
And I know Jeff actually just recently did his final follow-up on Yum products. He was talking about wheel foam just as far as it goes. What wheel foam does for wheels and paint is it's a high pH wash. For like wheels, if you apply their wheels, which has the iron remover, degreasers, and then you apply undress, and then you hit wheel foam over the top of it. Now you're adding a pH of like 13 on top of that. Plus, it extends the dwell time of the stuff underneath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are probably my favorite. I'm not gonna lie, I love the Luminous L pre-wash a lot.
I do too. Luminous, their bug and tar with the Luminous pre-wash, and then I hate to say mint, but mint, it's a great system. I love Luminous L wash though.
pH neutral, it's either mint or soft wash.
Yeah. Yeah, soft wash is probably my number one. Mint is good. You guys already know. I'm not even going to say it anymore. You already know my issue with mint. Conway, what are your thoughts on using a non-scoring pad to address oxidation, which is what my daughter has on her car, which is what I need to learn how to fix. And I know repainting is probably the best option, but
it's not my game. I'm a cut and polish it guy. I can usually handle it faster and make it look better with a quick single step wool pad. So the oxidation you're talking about usually occurs in single stage paints. And that's usually because when oxidation occurs in base coat clear coat, you end up with clear coat failure. So with a single stage paint, I can usually hit it with a wool and a end game, or picar number 2 or something like that, and cook, and you'll end up with a lot of gloss and all that oxidation gone, and throw protection on top.
Okay. Okay, I think I've gotten all the questions. We're about an hour and 30 here, but we still have one more area that we're going to talk about. Although this area, I've already talked to Conway. We are going to end up, hopefully, if he agrees, doing a whole kind of podcast on SOPs. So we will go over kind of just a general overview tonight. Conway has a ton of information here, and this is another area that I am super interested in for several reasons. So Conway, if you're good again with kind of giving an overview and then spending another podcast night dedicated to SOPs. Are you good with that?
Absolutely.
Good.
Anytime, and I'd also like to do a couple giveaways myself tonight for the
Okay.
people out there, because I like to show the love. I like to try and help others. Also just want to just take a quick moment and say thank you to you, Christy. You're absolutely fabulous and wonderful. Everybody in the chat and everybody that knows you, we love you, and we appreciate you a ton.
Yeah.
All the people in the chat and that I get a chance to interact with all the time, I appreciate every one of you a ton, more than you know. It means a lot to me.
I love it. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Sorry, I love you, Conway. You're amazing.
Love you too, Christy.
And this group is amazing. So I could sit here all night singing all of your praises. So that goes for you and the chat. So thank you. I do appreciate that. All right, let's talk SOPs. Well, what is your idea, Conway, for giveaways? What are you thinking?
Well, today I'm going to do because we know I like to roll South Korean, we're going to do a Katiba coating.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we're going to do a Katiba coating, and we're going to do, I don't know, I'm thinking about a luminous solid coating.
Ooh, dang. All right. So Katiba and luminous solid. Should we could do one right now, actually. You want to do Katiba first or luminous solid? Look at that. Whoo. All right. Let's see. Do I even have I'll be honest with you. You guys probably thought, like I said, I was writing down giveaway information. I really was taking notes. I do have a question we can ask. Let's see if you guys were listening. Let's do this for the Katiba coating. Get ready. I can see everybody right now just at their keyboards. So when we were talking about repaint, this was in the conversation of repaint. What was the first thing Conway said you should do before you began the whole process of repaint? I did write this down. This is the first thing he said you should do. I don't even know if this is a great question because I'm not sure if let's see. Test spot. No, that's not what I have written down. The first thing, oh, do I see it? I'm thinking measure. Who has it? Is it Tanner? Is that right? Or paint gauge, Vice? I put down measure. Conway, would you agree that was the first thing you said you should do before you were thinking about any type?
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to go with Vice, actually. Tanner, you said measure, but Vice says paint gauge, and I think that's what he was meaning, right? Measure the paint. So I'm going to go with Vice. Love you, Tanner. I'm going to go with Vice paint gauge, which means measure. Please email. That was for the Katiba coating of please email kaylintorres82@gmail.com, and we will make sure to get you your winnings. Congratulations.
Congrats, Noah.
Greg says BS. Sorry, Greg. Okay. So let's get into it. We have one more coating. Again, we're probably going to go about another 20 minutes, guys. So hopefully you can hang on. We will end this with the luminous solid coating. And actually, what I think we are going to do for the luminous solid is we will not do a hashtag because we've already figured out that hashtag sucks. But Conway, do you mind if we do leave a comment in
That'd be great.
after it's posted, and then I will do a drawing for whoever commented. We will not do a hashtag and we will not do anything. It's just drop a comment after the show ends and you will be in the lineup for luminous solid coating. Again, congratulations. So let's go ahead and talk SOPs because my whole thinking about SOPs is for efficiency. I'm sorry, Adamo. If it was a confusing question, I apologize. I was talking about repaint. I don't know what I was saying. It's what I wrote down. I apologize. I'll make sure that next time I make it a little more clear. So please forgive me for that. Talking about SOPs though, I always thought SOP was just for efficiency, but you kind of gave me some other knowledge before we got started. So just talk to me about SOPs, why people should have them. What is the big deal?
So SOPs, some people ask, what is an SOP? Standard operating procedure. There are multiple reasons why you want to have an SOP. SOPs define how you do things. An SOP gives you your starting point, how you fill in the middle, and your final position. It tells you how to be efficient. It also protects you from issues. SOPs can apply to hobbyists and enthusiasts just as much as it can apply to a business. Now, we talked, Christy, and we both know that most people in this industry don't want to share their SOPs.
Yes, I've noticed that.
They're like really close to the chest with it.
Yeah.
The next show we do, I'm going to share a ton of my SOPs. I've got no issues doing it. There's no competition there. So I don't understand why people don't. But hey, and maybe there's some that can help you if you're doing this as a business, even as a side hustle, because an SOP can protect you from legal action. An SOP can protect you and your money. An SOP can protect you from problems. A lot of SOPs are usually formed when there's an incident. Customer comes back, noticed inside the gas cap wasn't cleaned. Customer comes back, noticed trash wasn't empty. Customer comes back, the bottom edge along the rocker panel wasn't cleaned. So you create SOPs to create efficiency and to handle these problems so they don't keep occurring. I'm going to start off with like one of my beginning SOPs. Customer calls. Do you give them a price? No, standard operating procedure is, I want to see your vehicle. I'll give you an estimate, but it's not a quote. Because I want to see what I'm working with. You might say, it's not that dirty. Looks like a tornado hit it. Or you may show up and say, it's horrible, it's filthy. Usually those are the people I want because their car's immaculate. An SOP would be when they show up, I go out with my sheets, my paper, my camera. We're taking pictures of the vehicle, exterior, interior, and then I'm going to go down a checklist of everything that works and doesn't work. Any indicators on the dash, any issues that I see in the paint, any issues that I see in the wheels. You got to be thorough. We're going to use the term, pick the fly shit out of the pepper.
Anything you say.
And there's a reason. And we don't do this so that way we use it to say how we're going to fix the vehicle. This is recorded, and before I work on it, the next thing that occurs is my customer has to sign it. because they acknowledge the vehicle's condition. 1. 2, before I work on it, you should be getting a signature. What happens? Said customer is a loon. Said customer decides they want to get cranky. Said customer whatever. Now they want to report their car stolen. You're in possession of it. Do you have a signature stating that you have permission to work on it? No, you don't. So SOP says you get one, so you do.
I didn't think about that. Okay.
You have to look at things. The world can be a crazy place. So you have to do these things to protect yourself, as well as create efficiency in the job you're doing. If you don't, you're going to end up with problems. Here's SOPs for like an enthusiast, a hobbyist. Form a pattern of having your stuff the way you want it. So that way when you do it, it's not a job that takes you 10 hours to detail one car. You might enjoy detailing the car, but by the time 10 hours is over, you're like, where did my day go? I wanted to get this done and enjoy it, but not lose the whole weekend over it. So by doing things that provide your efficiency as an enthusiast, you're going to make that happen.
How often do your SOPs change? Because this is a question I asked. Like, obviously, I'm not expecting a weekly change, but after how long should you reevaluate your SOP?
And you should be evaluating your SOPs all the time. And that's one of the things that you should look at it and see. First off, sometimes let's say you hire a new person. Does that SOP fit with that person? Maybe they possess a skill that's a little different you can utilize. So now you're going to evolve your SOP. Or maybe you ran into a new problem that the last SOP didn't address. Now your new SOP is going to address that same problem, so you don't end up with another issue. So you're constantly looking at them. You don't always necessarily have to change them until you see something that needs to get fixed. I like it to be where the people that are involved in doing the work, I want their input. If I'm a boss, maybe they know of a different way of doing something, and there's nothing wrong with me listening to that and going, I like that idea. We're going to implement that. Or maybe come up with a bad idea and they implemented it, and I go, no, we don't do that. Look at our SOPs for this.
Okay. Conway has a question. I'm not Conway, sorry, Chingy. What are you doing when you hit the limit of your client's budget? Client won't go further, but your standards feel like crap now. Do you pass on the job to begin with?
Well, that's an SOP that you start with before you do the job. So estimates given. Customer agrees with estimate. But there's caveats you can add into that and say, this is a starting point. This is a high point. We will never go over this high point. This is our starting point. We feel we will come into this area below our high point. In the industry, I've come to realize the term, you're one broken bolt away from an emergency. Did you cause that bolt to be rusted in place? Did you cause it? I mean, all of those things are relevant to the situation, even in detailing. That comes back to also one of the SOPs that I believe that you have to do in the beginning is setting the expectations. If you set the expectation, you shouldn't go past what you're looking at. You shouldn't have to worry about that situation because the customer is going to expect this. I'm going to meet that expectations. We've priced that to those expectations. Now, again, there's caveats to that, which are if we're cutting and polishing, you want us to finish it like this, but burns through, or your paint flight. Case in point, I know Eddie jokes about the burn through on the Toyota truck. That wasn't his issue. For anybody that goes, Eddie burned through paint. No, Eddie didn't. Eddie got the unfortunate raw deal with a truck that had some crap ass paintwork done to it that he didn't know. Sometimes there's things that are unknown, and that's where you add those additional situational things to your estimate. If that makes sense.
So Chingy is continuing here. He says, Conway, that's where I'm struggling. Client is good. The work came out great for the price, but it's still not where I want it. That's the struggle.
There's your problem. Is it where your customer wants it or where you want it? Your SOP needs to be, I need to do what's best for my customer, not me. Problem is us detailers, we'll look at that crap. We're obsessed. We're obsessed with chemicals, finding the next best thing. We're obsessed with the best tools. We're obsessed with doing the best job. We're obsessed with pushing it further and further and further and further and making it more and more and more. That's our obsession. That's our, all of us have this OCD about us.
Yeah.
What we need to do is be able to step back and go, you see that scratch? I'm not going after that. They only want this. That's what they're paying for. That's what they're getting. I'm not going to go to my level. I'm going to their level.
Gosh. Yeah.
You'll find out that your jobs will go quicker. You'll make more money. You'll be happier. They'll be happy.
That's tough. That is tough. To kind of set your standards aside and focus on what the customer's expectation is. That's a hard one. Sorry, go ahead.
I kind of relate it to, you ever hear that song come on the radio and you're driving down the road? Next thing you know, you look down, you're doing 90. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
That's because we let this up here take over, even subconsciously. And it just, so you got to be able to step back and go, this is what they want. And sometimes it means in your SOP of writing that down, recording that. That way you give them that and you go, they don't want to do extraction. I'm not going after that stain. They said they're all right with that. They don't see that scratch, even though I do, but they want it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Conway saying that's a great analogy. How long do your standard SOPs take? Like, let's, in the beginning, when you're taking pictures, when you're, kind of, making sure that you're marking everything down, you're speaking to the client before you even begin. How long does that process take you?
You should be able to go out and inspect the vehicle, look at it, write everything down, and have it handled within the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
And understand, sometimes a little work in the forefront saves you in the back end. And by that, I mean, let's say you caught this blemish in the paint or on a door panel or something somewhere. Customer comes back after you're done a day later. I want my money back. You damaged my door panel. No, ma'am. See here, I've got pictures. Here we go. There's your count. I've got pictures of your vehicle. There's your blemish. This is out in the parking lot. And this is the paperwork that you signed, that the condition of your vehicle, that you acknowledged it. Guess what? Said person usually goes, oh, damn, that's right.
Yeah.
And they become less confrontational and they become manageable. And guess what? You've also earned their respect because you took the time to show that you care about their vehicle enough to look at the before, the after, and make sure that you're not screwing something up and that you'll own up to it just as well because the proof is there. Yeah. You're going to go, Mr. Customer, yeah, I managed to burn through your paint. I managed to do this. and I'll fix it.
Yeah. Are your SOPs separate for exterior versus interior, or is it all in one?
It's all in one, and primarily because you got to treat the whole vehicle as a vehicle,
Okay.
the complete. Um, you know, you get in, I make sure all the windows roll up and down. I make sure all the door locks work. I make sure all the radio works. I make sure all the heater controls work. Why? So let's say you're in there cleaning with a steamer. You're in there spraying down, scrubbing your brush, whatever. Did you short out that window switch? Did you short out that radio? Did you? So you know that it worked beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, you go take the time to go look at reviews. Go look on the groups. Go look in the forums on Facebook. Look at all the moaning and complaining you see that, oh, customer said I did this, customer said I did that. Or people pointing at things and products. If you do things ahead of time, you can save yourself trouble on the back end of things.
Yeah. I am, yeah. And obviously as a professional, somebody doing this for a living, an SOP is going to probably look a lot different than someone who is maybe just doing this as a side hustle or only gets, a client or two, or is it the same?
No. So ever had a cousin that you did work for that all of a sudden they're pissed at you and now they want money? Ever had a neighbor that
Guess
you
you're
did
right.
work for? Last thing you want is a neighbor that's blaming you because you screwed something up that you could have caught to begin with.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
So if this is your side hustle, take it for the fact that people suck and you need to take care of yourself. I mean, because you're putting yourself out there. I mean, just because it's a side hustle, don't think that somebody can't go after you for the repairs on their vehicle.
Yeah, true. Okay. See, it's all about perspective here. All right, Conway. Again, we are going to continue the SOP talk because I know we have so much more to talk about. I do want to respect everybody's time. We're coming up at about 2 hours here. The information that Conway has dropped, that you have dropped today, has been just mind blowing. But I do want to end with this. I want to kind of take it back to paint correction.
Yeah.
If someone wants to get into paint correction who has never done it before, I've never touched a polisher. I've never, I've never even thought about it, but I want to get into it. Where do I start?
Best thing to do is get a test panel. Go to your local body shop, any of those places, junkyard, pick up a hood, pick up a door, pick up a trunk lid, get something you can prop up and set up on like some sawhorses or something like that, and measure the paint. Do a test spot. See what you're trying to improve to and from. Go through the processes like you would on a car that you're going to do the job on. If you start doing it right to begin with, you continue doing it right the whole time. Been fortunate to, other things would be is get some training. Early on, I got training working in body shops, paint shops, stuff like that. I've taken training with Mike Phillips, and definitely one of the absolute goats when it comes to paint.
Yeah.
Like I saw him pass on some knowledge to you about polishers, and it totally hit home with me because I was like, he is spot on. And I see everybody talking about, oh, I got this 21 inch, 24 inch, and I'm going to cut and, what are you going to do when you get to a panel that's like this big? What are you going to do when it's got corners? And so let's say you got that big old thing and it's stalling, okay? It's stalling. So what do you think cuts more efficiently? This 3-inch or a 5-inch that has a 8 or a 10 or a 12 millimeter throw that doesn't stall? ever because it won't stall, or that 24 millimeter that's stalling to the bejesus and doesn't fit in there very well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to think things over and go, uh-huh, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
People want to know, why do they make these machines in those sizes? That's why. But yeah, I mean, to get into it, practice, 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 practice. Find even a mentor. And a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's standing over the shoulder of you or right there. Guys like myself, guys like Eddie, there's tons of other people out there that share tons of knowledge, that are good at what they do because they spend time doing it.
Yeah. Good advice, Conway. Tanner has a question quickly before we go. Would you send me the paperwork you have clients sign during that inspection you do before starting working on their vehicle? Would love to implement this. Are you willing to share?
I'll share SOPs, but I can't share the paperwork.
Okay. All right.
Those are kind of those are the proprietary things.
Okay. Conway, are you impressed with the Merca?
Merca is an incredible tool. I love it's powerful, it's quiet, it's soft, it's smooth, it's everything you could ever want it to be, but it's too expensive. It's not truly meant for detailing. It's meant for production work. You don't need a Bluetooth connection for a polisher. I've got a Merca. I've had a Merca. I've also got the ShineMate EB210, 212, and 213. For the money, you can't beat those doing the same job. Is it as powerful? No. But it does the job that you're going to want it to do.
Yeah. Have you, or did you get the new Fine Lab, the 3-inch, the new one, their new one?
That's on the list.
And when I tried that at SEMA, I'd already tried the Merca because I held it hostage when Jeff left it at my house. And man, that Fine Lab it felt pretty magical. It really was comparable, in my opinion. It's on my list too. So, yeah. All right, you guys, man, again, thank you so much, Conway, for spending I know your time is what, you're 3 hours different, aren't you?
No, it's about 9 o'clock right now.
Oh, we're only an hour. Why did I think we were 3 hours?
Yeah, no, I'm in Colorado, northern Colorado, and you know, I throw this out there. Somebody who needs help, reach out. I'm here. I'm glad to help. I help a ton of different people already. It doesn't bother me. Be patient with me. Sometimes I get a little busy, but I will help answer questions. There's a million and one ways to skin a cat. Another one of the biggest things to do in this job, let go of your ego. Check that thing at the door, because it's a very ego-driven industry. And it happens to all of us, me included. But the biggest thing is I love this community, and I love giving back.
I love it. And it's so true. And I'm sure most people in the chat tonight can attest to it, that if you have a question and you message Conway, he will get back to you. He will answer it. He will have a conversation. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge. And again, I so appreciate you coming on. I cannot wait to get into another episode talking strictly about SOPs. Conway has pages and pages of information that he can offer. And again, I think it's one of those things that so many people gatekeep. And, we kind of talked about it backstage, like, why is it? Because, you feel like you're giving away money or you're giving away business. But I think it's one of those things that is it could be so lucrative. And I'm not in terms of money, but just in terms of education and knowledge, and just helping people, get through their processes and their systems a little easier. So thank you again tonight. After the show, there is no word to put into the comments. Just leave a comment. There's no hashtag. There's no words. Leave a comment after the stream ends. And I will then next Monday, I will go ahead and announce the winner. So I'll give you guys about 7 days to drop a comment, which is plenty of time. But man, this is for the luminous solid coating. And I thank you, Conway, for being generous enough to do those giveaways. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. It was truly a blessing to be able to come on with you and be here with everybody else, and just much love.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, good night. Love you all. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye.